I always had this strange habit of scrolling Reddit when I could not sleep, usually around that awkward time between late night and early morning when the sky is still dark but feels different. One night, it was exactly 3:33 a.m. when I clicked on a random thread someone had posted in r obscure net. It had no title, just a black square with red text that read, "Are you brave enough to open the door?" Below that was a Discord invite link. I clicked it without thinking. The server was nearly empty, just one voice channel and one text channel named The List. As soon as I joined, I heard a chime and a message popped up. "Welcome, new member. You have been added to the list." I thought it was just an edgy roleplay server or some ARG, so I stayed. Curiosity is a disease worse than any virus when you are alone and bored. At first, nothing seemed wrong. The text channel had some weird posts that looked like short stories or journal entries, each one ending with a name. No comments, no likes, just silence. The voice channel was always occupied, even though no one was ever speaking. I tried joining it once, but all I heard was static mixed with faint whispering. I left immediately. Something about the whispering made my skin crawl, like it was trying to reach into my head. That same night, I received a DM from someone named MemoryMod. It just said, "One down." I replied with a question mark, but there was no answer. I brushed it off and went to sleep, although I could not shake the feeling that something had begun following me, not physically, but mentally. The first thing I forgot was my old best friend's name. I remembered his face, his jokes, even the way he used to laugh when he was nervous. But his name was gone. I opened my contacts, searched my old messages, even scrolled through photos, but every mention of his name had vanished. I thought it was stress or lack of sleep, but it kept getting worse. A few days later, I was on a call with my cousin, and I could not recognize her face on the screen. Her voice was familiar, but I could not place her features. It was like someone had taken an eraser to my memory and started smudging out parts of the people I loved. I tried to talk to friends about it, but they acted normal, like I was the one who had changed. One of them even said I looked different, like something was off about me. That same night, MainMorimod messaged again. 2 down. I finally went back to the server, now filled with hundreds of names in the list. Some of them had been crossed out, others had timestamps next to them. Every single name matched a user I had seen online at some point. I scrolled through the old posts and realized they were not stories. They were confessions, each one written by someone who had joined the server, each one trying to pass off their curse by writing about someone else. It hit me like a punch in the chest. The only way to stay whole was to share someone else's story in your place. That was the rule. That was the game. The more I read, the more terrified I became. There was a post about a girl who forgot her own face in the mirror. Another from a guy who could no longer hear his own voice and only spoke in the words of others. These were not just stories. They were traps. Bait for the next victim. I thought maybe if I left the server, I could undo whatever had started. I deleted the Discord app, wiped my browser history, and tried to move on, but it was too late. At work, I stared at my ID badge and could not read my own name. My coworkers began calling me by a name I did not recognize, and when I asked them who I was, they laughed like I was joking. At night, I started hearing whispers again, not through speakers this time, but in my dreams. They sounded like old friends, relatives, people I once knew, all of them calling out to me like I had forgotten them, like they were angry that I had let them go. I looked in the mirror and there was a moment. I swear my reflection blinked out of sync with me. That was when I knew I was disappearing. I panicked and reopened the Discord server. The list had grown longer, but my name was now at the top, flashing, pulsing like a warning. MemoryMod messaged again. Final stage begins. I could not remember my birthday. I forgot the name of the city I lived in. Even my own voice felt strange, like I was listening to a recording I had never made. I knew I had to do it. I had to post someone else's story, but it could not be made up. It had to be real. That was the rule. The memory had to belong to someone else, something horrifying enough to satisfy whatever ran that place. I thought about my neighbor, a lonely man who once told me about the night he saw his brother vanish into a hole that opened in their backyard. I typed it all out, every detail he had told me, the fear in his voice, the way he never slept again. After that, I posted it. For a while, things got better. I remembered my birthday. My reflection returned to normal. The whispers faded, but my neighbor moved away a week later. No goodbye. His apartment emptied overnight. When I looked through the peephole the next day, someone else had moved in. A woman with a blank face who stared at the wall all day long. I tried to warn others. I tried to post about the server, but every time I typed the link, the browser crashed. Every attempt to talk about it out loud made people laugh nervously and change the subject, like their brains were being told not to listen. I went back to the server out of desperation and found a new message. You bought time, not freedom. Then memory mod added, list resets every cycle. Stay active. Now I sit here and I do not know if what I am doing is enough. I do not know if sharing this will really save me, but I feel it again. That static in my ears, that faint pull in my chest like I am being unstitched from the inside. So this is my confession. This is my attempt to escape the list. If you are reading this, if you found this story, then know this truth. There is a server out there that only finds you when you are looking for something forbidden, a place that trades identity for entertainment. Once you join, you either share or you fade. Your memories are not just yours anymore. They are currency, and sooner or later you will run out. The list is waiting. I always thought mirrors were just glass and silver. You look in, you see yourself, and that is it. No deeper meaning, no supernatural nonsense, just a reflection. But I will never look into one again, not after what happened with the Craigslist mirror. I am not the kind of person who normally shops for furniture online. I prefer seeing things in person. But I had just moved into a new apartment, and money was tight. When I saw an antique mirror listed for $20, I figured I was getting lucky. The seller only wrote one line in the description: "You will see more than yourself." At the time, I thought it was just some artsy junk to make it seem interesting. I did not think twice. I drove across town to pick it up. The guy who sold it to me was strange, twitchy, like he had not slept in weeks. He barely spoke, just pointed at the mirror and said, "Do not stare too long," then walked away and closed the door. I laughed on my way home. I thought he was crazy or trying to prank me. But now, I know he was warning me. The mirror was old, heavy, with a thick black frame covered in carvings I could not quite make out. It had this weird shine to it, like the glass was always a little wet. I hung it in my hallway, right outside my bedroom. At first, it was just a mirror. I passed by it for a few days without noticing anything strange. But one night, I stopped in front of it on my way to the bathroom and caught something odd. My reflection was not in sync. I waved my hand, and it waved back just a second too late. I thought maybe I was tired, maybe I was imagining it. But the next night, it did it again. And this time, it was not just a delay. My reflection smiled when I was not smiling. I stood there frozen, watching myself grin, like I was planning something, like I knew something I should not. Curiosity got the better of me. I started testing it. I would move my arms, blink, tilt my head, and always, my reflection would follow exactly 30 seconds later. It was not a delay. It was a prediction. The mirror was showing me 30 seconds into my own future. I was fascinated. At first, it felt like a trick, but I checked the time, recorded it, tested again and again. Every time, it was exactly 30 seconds. I began to copy what my reflection did, treating it like a guide. I used it to win arguments, avoid dropping things, even fix small mistakes before they happened. It was incredible, like I had found a cheat code for life, but it did not stay fun for long. One night, I stood in front of it, waiting to see what my reflection would do. I expected it to yawn or scratch its normal stuff, but it suddenly raised a hand and slapped its own face. I watched, confused, and then 30 seconds later, I did the same. I did not mean to. My arm just moved on its own. I tried to resist, but it was like my body was on autopilot. The next night, it punched the wall. I watched in horror as my fist flew into the drywall 30 seconds later. My knuckles bled, and the pain was real. I tried walking away, not watching, but every time I ignored it, the mirror would go black for a moment, then reset the last 30 seconds. No matter what I did, I ended up back in front of it, replaying the same sequence until I followed what I saw. I started to dread the mirror. I would unplug it, cover it, even move it to the basement. But no matter where I put it, I would wake up standing in front of it again. My apartment had become a loop. 30 seconds of watching, 30 seconds of repeating. And the reflection it was not just predicting anymore. It was controlling. It began doing things I would never do. It screamed at empty air. It carved words into its own skin. It laughed like it enjoyed the pain. And every time I followed, I tried not to. I would scream, cry, beg, but nothing changed. The moment passed, and my body mirrored everything like a puppet on a string. Then came the night it raised a knife. I saw it in the reflection, my future self smiling wide, holding the blade to my own throat. I panicked. I ran, but the world blurred. My legs refused to move properly. The apartment seemed to shift, always looping back into the same spot. Like the mirror was the center of everything now. I knew if I let those 30 seconds pass, I would pick up that knife. So I grabbed the mirror and smashed it to pieces. Glass flew everywhere. I thought I had won. I thought it was over. But when I turned around, the hallway was still there. The same hallway, same door, same silence. And then I saw it. The wall where the mirror had hung was still reflecting me. No frame, no glass, just a smooth glowing surface that showed me what came next. My reflection, bloodied and broken, still 30 seconds ahead. It waved. I stood there, trembling, waiting to see what it would do. It reached down, picked up a shard of glass, and smiled. And I knew what was coming. I do not know how many loops I have been through since then. Time feels broken. Every time I think I have escaped, I find myself back in front of that wall watching. And now, the reflection has started whispering. I cannot hear the words yet, but I know they are meant for me. It is learning, growing, becoming more than me. If anyone finds this story, do not look for the mirror. Do not try to outsmart it. I thought I could use it to see the future, but the truth is, the future is using me. I always thought the internet was infinite, that there were no true boundaries, that anything could be found if you just knew where to look. I never believed in digital curses or haunted programs. That stuff always felt like urban legends cooked up for clicks. But after what happened with that game, I have not touched the deep web since. I do not even use my regular browser without second-guessing every download. It all started when I was hunting for unique content for my YouTube channel. Indie horror games were trending, and I needed something raw and unknown to stand out. A fan messaged me an Onion link on Discord. No message, just a link. Normally, I ignore stuff like that. But curiosity won. I launched Tor, typed the link, and landed on a plain black page with one button in the center. Download. Let me out-zip. The file was small, just under 50 megabytes. No description, no developer info. It looked like one of those amateur pixelated horror games. I thought maybe it was a fan-made project, something weird, maybe glitchy, that I could make funny commentary on. I scanned it with antivirus. Nothing came up. I unzipped the folder, and inside was a single application file named letmeout.exe. The icon was just a red eye on a black background. I hit record, booted up OBS, and started playing. The game launched in a small window. At first, It was just a tutorial level. Basic pixel art, a little character that looked like a shadow with white eyes. It moved across a static room while text appeared above it. Use A and D to move. Press space to jump. Find the way out. It reminded me of early Flash games. Creepy background music played, a slow piano note repeating like a lullaby. I moved the character, got stuck in a spike trap, and died. Nothing dramatic. But when I respawned, the window expanded a bit. The background behind the game had changed. It looked like my actual desktop. At first I thought it was just a clever trick, like the game was simulating my desktop. But then I noticed it was not a copy. It was real. My real desktop icons were there. My OBS was still recording. I even saw the messy folder I had named Stuff to Delete Later. The game had replaced my wallpaper with a screenshot of my actual desktop and was somehow displaying itself on top. I paused the game and checked my files. Everything was untouched. OBS was still capturing fine. I figured it was just a next-level horror gag. Some smart developer using screen capture to mess with players. I kept going. The next level was harder. The shadow character had to avoid falling blocks. I failed again. This time, the background changed completely. It was a photo of me. One I had taken last year in my bedroom. I never posted it, never shared it with anyone. It was just a test shot with my DSLR, buried in a folder titled Camera Roll 2022. My heart dropped. I minimized the game, checked the folder. The photo was still there, hidden in a deep subfolder. The game somehow had access. I started feeling sick. This was not a prank. Someone had designed this game to invade. I wanted to quit, but curiosity turned into fear mixed with obsession. I needed to see how far it would go. I resumed playing. The third level was a maze. As I walked the character around, text started to appear at the top. At first, it was just game-like instructions, but then it changed. Why did you stop talking to her? I froze. The music had changed too. Now, it was a low, static hum, the kind that crawls into your ears and stays. She waited every day. The next message said, until the day she stopped breathing. I felt my chest tighten. It could not be real. It could not know that. The only person I ever ghosted was Sarah, my ex from college. We had not talked in years. I found out later from a mutual friend that she had passed away after a car accident. I never told anyone that I blamed myself, that I had ignored her final message asking if we could talk. I never said that to a soul. I paused the game and unplugged my Wi-Fi, but the game continued. It did not need internet. The character stood still, eyes blinking. The screen flickered, then went black. A text box appeared. Let me out. Another flicker. Let me out. Then the face of the shadow character zoomed in. For the first time, it spoke through my headphones. A voice I recognized instantly. My own. Distorted. Whispering. You kept me here. You made me watch. I slammed my laptop shut. I wanted it to end, but even with the lid closed, the whisper kept playing through the speakers. I had to hard shut down the system. The next day, my OBS footage was gone. Not just the Let Me Out recording. Everything. All my project files were corrupted. When I turned my computer on, the wallpaper had changed. It was not my desktop anymore. It was a live video feed of me, sitting at my desk, but I had no webcam. My camera was unplugged. I stared at the screen, and the figure from the game, no full color and no longer pixelated, was sitting behind me. I spun around. Nothing. I checked every corner, but I knew it was not a glitch. I had seen it. He was there. I threw the laptop away, bought a new one, changed emails, deleted all backups. I tried to move on. I even stopped uploading for months. But sometimes, when I close my eyes, I still see the game booting up, still hear that voice. Every night, I have the same dream. I wake up in a pixelated room. I am controlling myself, but I cannot stop moving forward. I reach a point where a spike trap waits. No matter what I do, I walk into it, over and over. And when I respawn, the background is always different. A new memory, a new regret, something I never wanted to see again. I think the game is still out there, waiting to be played, waiting for the next person to press download. If you ever see a link called "Let Me Out," do not click it. Do not try to be brave, because the moment you start playing, something starts playing you. They say you should never buy things just because they go viral online, but I never thought something as harmless as a bedsheet could become the center of my nightmares. I remember the first time I saw the ad. It was one of those late-night scrolls through TikTok, and this girl was raving about how these luxury sheets from a brand called Deep Rest changed her life. She said her sleep felt deeper, more vivid. The sheets were ultra-soft, cooling, and made from recycled fabric with a history. That line should have made me pause, but it only added to the charm. I had been struggling with insomnia for weeks, and anything that could help me sleep felt like a godsend. The comments were full of people swearing by it, so I ordered a set. They arrived in a matte black box with no branding, just a silver ink tag inside that read, "Sleep deep, dream true." The first night, I noticed how soft they were. It was like sinking into a cloud. I fell asleep almost instantly, which was strange for me. But even stranger was the dream. I was walking through an old house that did not belong to me. I knew every creak in the floorboards, every chipped tile. I was humming a tune I had never heard. And when I looked into the mirror in the hallway, I saw the reflection of an older man. Not me. His eyes were sunken, tired, but deeply familiar, in a way I could not explain. I woke up drenched in sweat, but also somehow peaceful. I told my boyfriend Alex about it, and he teased me, said I finally found my magic sleep potion. I laughed it off, thinking it was just one of those weird dreams, but the next night, it happened again. This time, I was a woman sitting in a dark room, braiding someone else's hair. She was crying. I kept repeating, "It will stop soon. It will stop soon." The mirror across the room showed her face, not mine. A week passed, and every night brought a new dream, a new life. Sometimes I was old, sometimes young, sometimes male, sometimes female, but always in places I had never been, and doing things I did not understand. At first, it felt fascinating, like stepping into someone else's memories. But then the dreams grew darker. I found myself strapped to a bed, screaming. I was wandering hallways that never ended, my hands shaking from invisible shocks. I began waking up with cuts on my arms, red lines across my wrists that faded by morning. I asked Alex if he noticed anything strange. He hesitated and said he thought I was talking in my sleep, not mumbling, but speaking clearly, in voices that were not mine. Once, he swore he heard a man's voice whispering numbers. Another time, a child laughing in a sing-song voice. I told him to stop messing with me, but deep down I was already scared. It was no longer a dream. It felt like I was being used, occupied. Things got worse when I stayed awake one night. To avoid sleeping, I watched television, read books, drank coffee, but I must have dozed off, just for a second. When I opened my eyes, I was in a hospital corridor. It was silent, but I could hear voices echoing in my head, not like sounds, but like thoughts that did not belong to me. I ran to the nearest door and pushed it open. Inside was a room filled with beds, thin mattresses, dirty sheets, restraints hanging from the sides. The kind of place you only see in old asylum documentaries. The moment I turned around, I woke up on my bedroom floor, gasping for air. The sheets had wrapped tightly around my body, like a cocoon. I had no memory of getting out of bed. Alex found me that morning and asked if I had been sleepwalking. He said I had left the front door wide open. That was when I did what I should have done days ago. I looked up the brand. Deep Rest had no website. The TikTok videos were still there, but the comments had been turned off. I searched deeper and found a Reddit thread buried in an old forum about cursed internet products. Someone mentioned Deep Rest, said the company was part of a recycled textile experiment using clothing from shut-down institutions. Apparently, some underground reseller on the deep web was selling luxury items made from the fabric of mental hospitals: bed sheets, pillowcases, robes. The post claimed that each thread carried imprints from its previous owner, fragments of their identity, their trauma, their madness. It sounded ridiculous until I saw the name of the hospital: Ravenshade Asylum. I had seen that name carved into a wooden sign in one of my dreams. I decided to throw the sheets away. I dragged them outside and dumped them into the bin. That night, I slept on the couch with a blanket, but the dreams still came, worse than before. Now, I was not just seeing things, I was feeling them. I screamed until my throat bled. I tasted blood that was not mine. I felt electric shocks surge through my body, even though I was not moving. I felt my skin itch and tear, and in the dream, they told me something, over and over: return what is ours, return what is ours. I woke up with my heart racing so hard it felt like it would burst. I checked the bin. The sheets were gone. I confronted Alex, asked if he had taken them back inside. He looked terrified. He told me I had dragged them back in myself. He said he tried to stop me, but I pushed him. He showed me a bruise on his shoulder. I could not remember any of it. That day, I noticed something worse. My reflection. It would change, just slightly. My eyes looked wider, more sunken. My mouth curled in strange ways. And sometimes, for a second, I would see someone else looking back at me. Not every night, but often enough that I stopped looking in mirrors altogether. I did one last thing. I found a post on the dark web from someone claiming to be an ex-employee of the textile company. They wrote that the sheets were never meant to be sold to the public. The recycled fabric came from clothes worn by patients during intense psychological breakdowns. The theory was that trauma leaves an energy imprint, and fabric close to the body absorbs it. When respun into new material, those memories linger. Dream True was not a slogan. It was a warning. I was not dreaming of others. I was being used as a vessel. They had no voices anymore, no bodies. But in my sleep, they could speak. They could exist. I burned the sheets that night. I did it in the backyard, poured lighter fluid and watched them go up in flames. The smell was awful, like burning hair and something rotten underneath. I thought it was over, but it has been weeks, and I still dream. Not every night, but enough to know I am not alone in my mind. Sometimes I hear whispers in the walls, just as I fall asleep. Sometimes I find scratches on my arms that were not there the night before. I do not think they are trying to hurt me. I think they are trying to stay, because once they find someone who can hold them, they never want to let go. They always say never click on links from the deep web unless you are ready to lose something. I used to laugh at that kind of advice, thinking it was just part of the spooky myth people like to share in those late-night forums. But now, I cannot laugh. I cannot even sleep, because I made the mistake of clicking on a profile link someone posted in a deep web art thread. It was titled The Watcher of Faces and had no likes, no followers, nothing. Just a bio that read, "We follow what hides." That should have been enough to stop me, but I was curious. I opened the account. It had one post, a blurry photo of a girl standing in a hallway, looking directly at the camera. Her eyes were completely black. I clicked off and shut down my laptop for the night, a little weirded out, but nothing serious. I thought that was the end of it. The next morning, I woke up to a notification on my phone, a new follower. I barely use Instagram anymore, so that alone was strange. The account's name was just Art0Fark, and its profile picture was a black smudge, like something had melted on the screen. It had no posts, no bio, no followers, except one, me. I opened my account settings and tried to block it, but the block option would not appear. I refreshed the app, but the account kept showing up, sitting at the top of my follower list, like it was watching. The weirdest part was that it only followed me, just me. No matter how many times I closed the app or checked from my browser, it would not go away. I started to feel a pit in my stomach, like something was staring at me through the screen. By the third day, I noticed something else. My photos were changing, not by much at first. In one, the lighting had shifted a little. In another, I looked slightly off, like my smile had faded. But then I saw a photo of me from my birthday last year. In that one, my eyes were pitch black. Not like red eye, not a filter. Just deep, unnatural black pits. My friends who were tagged in the post messaged me, asking what kind of sick joke I was playing. But I had not changed anything. I did not even repost the photo. It was just altered. Every day after that, more pictures began to shift. Backgrounds looked rotten, like the places behind me were decaying. My apartment walls started to peel in the images, even though they looked fine in real life. Sometimes there were shapes in the corners of the photos, blurry outlines that seemed to move when I looked too long. Then the comments started. I woke up to dozens of them under my photos, not from accounts I knew. All of them had blank profiles. The comments were short, sentences like, "We see you now, and do not hide from the watcher." One said, "The gift has been accepted." Another just repeated tagged again and again. I tried deleting the photos. They would disappear for a second, then reappear with more changes. In one of them, I was not even in the photo anymore, just an empty chair with a shadow behind it. I called Instagram support. They told me my account looked fine. They even said the Art0Font profile did not exist in their system. It was like I was the only one who could see it. And that made it worse. I tried logging out. I even deleted the app. But whenever I reinstalled it, the account was there, already following me again. My photos would update automatically, even ones that were private. I switched phones, made a new email, new Instagram, everything. The account followed me again, within minutes. I felt like something had attached itself to me, like the act of opening that deep web link had cursed me. I began avoiding mirrors. I stopped taking photos. I shut all my blinds and covered the camera on my laptop. But it did not help. One night, I checked the account again. This time, it had posted a story, just a few seconds long. It was a screen recording of my own Instagram profile, scrolling through my photos, pausing on each one. Then it switched to a live camera view, my bedroom, from the corner of the ceiling. I do not know how long I sat there frozen, heart pounding like it wanted to escape my chest. I did not have any cameras in that room, not even a baby monitor. I turned on every light and searched the apartment. Nothing, but I could feel it. Something was there with me, breathing when I was not, watching from corners where no eyes should exist. That night, I tried logging in from a desktop again, hoping I could report the account through a different route. What I found instead was a new folder in my saved posts. I never made it. The folder was called Collection of Faces. I opened it. There were hundreds of images. Every single one was a close-up of my face, but not ones I remembered. Some were from strange angles, like from above my bed, or through the crack in my bathroom door. One photo had me standing still in my hallway, but I swear I never stood like that. My arms were too long, my neck too twisted. Then I found the final photo. It was not a picture. It was a short video, just 5 seconds. It showed my front door. Someone stood outside, facing it, not moving. The figure had my face, but the eyes were black, and it smiled. The video ended with a whisper, just one word: soon. I packed a bag that night, drove 4 hours to my brother's house. I did not explain much, just that I needed to stay with him for a while. But the next morning, my brother came into the guest room holding his phone. He asked why I had posted a video of him sleeping. I had not. I checked my account. A new post was there. A video of my brother, asleep in his bed, taken from above. My caption read, "Gift received." And now, the account was following him. That was when I knew the truth. This thing, whatever it was, did not need your permission. It did not need access. It just needed you to ignore it, to pretend it did not exist, because that is what it feeds on. Indifference. It follows those who refuse to see it. Once it follows you, the changes begin. And if you try to run, it simply moves to the next person close to you. That is how it spreads. I tried deleting everything, smashing my phone, but my brother's account began to rot. His pictures changed. His eyes turned black. One night, he woke up screaming, pointing at the closet, said something was smiling at him. That same night, he disappeared. His account is still active, but now, all his photos are blank. Just white noise. I have been hiding since then, living in motels, using burner phones, avoiding anything with a camera. But I know it is not over, because every few days I get a new notification, a follow request, same name, same black profile picture. It never leaves. It just waits. I am not telling you this to scare you. I am telling you so that maybe you will not make the same mistake. If you ever see that account, do not open it. Do not check who it follows. Do not even acknowledge it, because once you do, it begins, and it will not stop. It does not want your likes. It wants your face, and eventually, it takes everything, even you.